All right, we're gonna make our own cookie banner today. And why are you asking? Well, sometimes a full-blown consent management platform just doesn't feel right. There are cases where you don't want to pay every month for something like a cookie banner. For instance, if you own a small business, or if you're volunteering at a church or at a sports club or something like that, then you might want something a little bit simpler. And that's why I'm creating my own version of a cookie banner today that you can implement via Google Tag Manager. And at the end of the whole exercise, I'm planning on giving away my code for free. So I still don't know if this is going to take 1 week or 2 weeks or something like that. But if this is done, I will put a link in the video description to that code. And I might even make a video on how to set up the whole thing and customize the whole thing. So look in the video description for that. The second question that I wanted to answer up front, why am I doing this on screen? Well, I just find it a really fun exercise, and I think this is very valuable lessons because a lot of the technologies that go into making a cookie banner come in handy when you set up tracking on a website. So I hope this is a good lesson for you. Also, I find that because I'm developing this on screen, you know exactly what you put on your website when you download my cookie banner and the reasons and the thought behind the decisions that I make. One last thing before we get into the video is that things might change in the future. And especially once this video gets a year, 2 years, maybe 3 years old, please read the description carefully because things might change in the future, and I will try to keep up as much as possible. And so when I do updates, I will let you know in the video description. All right, let's dive in. All right, let's first talk about what I use to develop my cookie banner. First of all, I like to develop on a web server, so I can just go to a specific URL and then look at what I'm building. That's why I've opened up a package at one.com. It's the cheapest hosting service that I know of. That is also really excellent. I've used this for over 15 years and I really recommend it. So I will put a link in the video description. Also, I use this code editor, and you can use whatever you want. You don't need to use these two services, but this is just what I really like. And this code editor has a feature in the top right corner where you can go into File Browser and then go to your hosting package. So this is a testing domain that I bought via one.com. This is where I log in, and I'm gonna just make a new folder here that I'm gonna call Cookie Banner. And we might even need to come up with a name. So let's ask ChatGPT for a name. All right, I went off screen and I asked ChatGPT for a name for a cookie banner, and the name was Clear Cookie. So we're just gonna roll with that. We might change this later, but Clear Cookie is the name of the cookie banner. For now, it's a project name. And one.com works like this. So if I make a Clear Cookie folder, I can go into Clear Cookie and then my domain name, the domain name that I registered. So in the werkplaats.nl. So, and I need to make an HTML file here, index.html. And this is where I'm going to develop my whole thing. Yeah, there you go. It's a white page. I'm going to open this, and here's where I'm going to write my code. So let's make a page first, HTML. There you go. Head, and then a body. There you go. Title, Clear Cookie Test Page. There you go. Clear Cookie Test Page. Let's make a title, H1, Clear Cookie Test Page. Yeah, there you go. All right. And maybe even some test. Let's put some text on here. So for now, I'm not gonna bother doing more. This is where I'm gonna write my cookie banner. So cookie banner code here. And we're gonna start by making some markup. The markup of the cookie banner basically means the HTML code that is needed to display the cookie banner. And this, for a big part, determines the layout and the design and also the functionality of the cookie banner. So let's start here. Let's make a div. I'm gonna give this an ID, clear cookie. I'm still not sure about the name, but let's just roll with this. This is gonna be the wrapper for the whole cookie banner. And I want this to have a full screen, like a dark background, and then with a banner on top of it. So the banner is underneath this, and let's give this a class name as well. Class is clear cookie, and then go for, and then let's do div clear. Oh, div clear. Can I do this? No. Div class is clear cookie inner. So there you go. Still no text. We probably need some kind of an example cookie banner. So I'm just gonna go into a incognito, and then let's just go with the #1 web shop here in the Netherlands. I think this is a good example to go with. So we will change everything later. So we're gonna make our own text, and I'm gonna make that customizable. But it's always good to have an example. So inside of this cookie banner, there are buttons. There's a piece of text, and there's a title. So let's start with the. Let's make a header. That's always a good thing. Let's make a header here. Let's make a body. And let's make a footer. And inside of the footer, there's going to be buttons. So I'm going to make a list of buttons. Do I want a list? No, let's not make a list here. Let's just make text links. Do I want to make text links? No, let's just go for button. So button, and then accept all button. Show settings. We're gonna change all the text later, but and then refuse all. But we just need a clear layout. So and this is gonna be called the class footer button. So it's good. Every button has the same class name, but then I also want to give a modifier class name. So let's name this accept. Let's name this one settings, and let's name this one refuse or deny. Yeah, let's go. That's good. So we let's go to our test page. Yeah, this is what we see now. So it's just going to show underneath. We're going to add styling later, and that's where when the cookie banner will show on top of the page. We're just going to make the markup first. So now for the body, there's usually a section like this. So piece of text. Let's just gonna copy this. It's just placeholder text, so we're gonna just copy this for now, and we're gonna make an element called main, and this is where we have a couple of paragraphs of text, and I'm probably gonna simplify this, and let's just make this lorem ipsum. I don't want to get in trouble, so let's just make this lorem ipsum for now. Yeah, there you go. I don't know if they watch my videos, but and then I also want something like this, where you can have these text boxes. Like I want to give permission for a couple of categories, and they do it a little bit different. What I'm looking for is just a couple of categories. So I'm gonna call this settings. where you can choose opt-in for instance, analytics, marketing, social media trackers, personalizations, etc. So this is going to be the settings screen, and within these settings we're going to make different settings. So this is an individual setting. So you could have something like and a setting has a name. So you could have something like essential cookies, or essential, Jim's going to essential, and then that has an explanation. So I'm going to just put some text in here, and it's going to need some kind of tick box. So it's so this is the description, and then we're going to need some kind of like checkbox where you can like check or uncheck the thing. So I'm going to call that input, and that's going to be an input. Type is checkbox, and that probably needs its own name. So let's see what we have now. So this is a piece of text, and then we have the settings. So here, essential with a description. So it doesn't look good. Don't worry, we're gonna get there. So these settings, I'm gonna repeat that a couple of times. I want to make this customizable. So every setting, you need to be able to change this for yourself. You might only have, you might only want to ask for permission for analytics trackers, or maybe marketing trackers, or maybe you have a different category that you want to ask permission for. So let's go and make this analytics, and let's do one more, marketing. So there you go. So we have 3 categories. And what did we put something in our header already? No, we didn't do that. So let's what do they do at bol.com? Your preferences, your privacy preferences. Okay, your privacy preferences. So you might want to put a logo here or something like that. But we will change this later. We just need to get started. All right. So here is our basic markup. Let's try to style this, and let's make like a first draft of the design of the cookie banner. All right. Our style tags are just gonna go in this page. If you're a proper developer, you probably have all kinds of tools in place. I'm just gonna keep this very simple. So I'm not even gonna use SCSS or something like that. I'm just gonna write it on the page here. Style, yeah, there you go. And first of all, I just want the clear cookie ID. And I'm using an ID because an ID always has a high specificity. And that will make sure that the styles that I write will override everything else on the page. Because usually I think a modern front-end developer won't use IDs for styling on the page. So if I use a clear cookie style, I might change the name later, but if I use this as an ID, the styles that I write will override everything else on the page for the cookie banner. And that's what I want. If you put my cookie banner on your site, I want the styles to be as you would expect, and not, for instance, if you have a button on your site, that those styles impact the buttons that might be on here. So first of all, we're gonna make this whole thing position fixed, because the cookie banner should be just on top of everything. Let's see, z index maybe 300. Let's give it let's do something like this. So top 0, right 0, bottom 0, left 0, z index. And then let's give this a background color of RGBA. Let's do black, and then 80% opacity, or no, 60%. Let's do that. Yeah, there you go. So this is the like a black layer that goes on top. And of course you can just, if you press refuse or if you press accept, it will disappear. But at first it's just gonna be a layer on top. And then let's go with the banner itself. Clear cookie inner. And let's give this a white background. So let's do let's do background color white. Yeah, let's put it on the center, and it's probably easiest to do this. So display flex, justify content, center, align items, center. So that will put it on the center of the page. I'm gonna make it smaller. I'm gonna give it a maximum width of let's just try 800. Let's do margin 0 auto. That will put it in the middle again. I don't even think that is necessary. Let's try. No, it's not needed. Okay, let's remove. So max width, and then of course the text is set to the sides. I want some padding here, so padding 20 pixels. And now I see that the width of 800 and so the padding is not included in the width. I'm used to writing it in a different way, so I'm just gonna look up off screen really what it is. So box, I believe it's box sizing. I'm not not. So there's an article by a developer named Paul Irish. I've always used his advice here. So this is a piece of code that I like to use here. So let's put it in, and I of course only want it inside of my cookie banner. So clear cookie, and so every element within. And if I tend to use before or after elements, this is gonna, and of course on the clear cookie element itself too. So it's just makes oh no, box sizing inherit, and then on the parent element I of course set something like border box. Yeah, that I can never remember this, but this makes sure that the width, so that the width is from the outer to left outer to the right outer, and then the padding is set to the from those borders. So the padding is not okay, I'm talking about this for way too long, so let's continue. It's just something that I'm used to. So a border radius 4 pixels is something that I like. So 4 pixels. Let's make the padding a little bit bigger. We're gonna make this responsive, of course, but for now this kind of works. All right, so let's what are we gonna do now? Okay, let's do some basic formatting. So let me look up system font family system font. Let me look up something like this, because as you can see right now, it just inherits the font from the page, and that's not a bad thing, but it doesn't give me a lot of confidence that this will work in every situation. And of course the default font here, Times New Roman, is not very nice, so let's give this a good default. And I think this is a good one. So font family Apple system, blink, mat. So this is just gonna, if you're on a Microsoft computer, or if you're on a on an Apple device or if you're on an Android device, it's just gonna give the cookie banner the system font that's used on that system. And I think that's a good fallback. Because those fonts are beautiful, they are readable, and they don't require an additional font load. And that's also important to me because I want this cookie banner to be as fast as possible. Okay, so we're here. We have a default font for the entire cookie banner. Let's make a font size as well. So font, and let's do maybe 16 pixels. Then you have a line height of 1.4. And just to be sure, let's do font inherit. Yeah, so everything just follows the whole, like what I tell here. Everything else just follows, unless, of course, I override it later. Let's do some separation between header and footer. That's maybe nice. So we have header. Let's do border, bottom, 1 pix, solid. Let's make it just super light. Something like this. Maybe a little bit too much. EE. Yeah. Let's do padding, bottom. No, let's do this. So margin minus 30. So that's 0 at the top, minus 30 at the left, minus 30 at the right, and 30 at the bottom. Why am I doing this? Well, I want the border at the bottom from the left to the right side. So, and of course I need to compensate with padding. So 0, 30, 30. Oh, yeah, there you go. So I have the line from here to here, 30 pixels, 30 pixels, 30 pixels everywhere with the line in the middle. And we're gonna do this at the footer as well. So footer. Let's reverse this. So 0 at the bottom, 30 at the top. Again, border top. So there you go. And of course, we're only going to show the settings once you click show settings. So we're going to do something like this. So we have a settings wrapper. And we're going to set the settings to hidden. And I like to do that with a modifier class. So so this is settings dash hidden. And let's say something like this. So clear cookie display none. Oh, and I believe there is a better way to do this. Let's set this at the top because I'm gonna add more to this. Let's say display none CSS text. There's like an article that says that this might not be accessible entirely, so I'm kind of used to doing something like this. Yeah, there you go. I'm not quite sure about accessibility because but we're loading from GTM anyway. So I'm gonna check later if this might be an issue. But for now, let's continue. So the settings are now hidden, and I'm gonna make a JavaScript piece of code later that will enable that by clicking show settings. Let's style the buttons for now. And as you can see, I really like this button style where it's accept all and then like ghost buttons for the rest. So primary action and a secondary action. Some people find this a dark pattern that you kind of attract attention to the accept all button. And of course that is kind of true. But I find that you give people that really care about their privacy, I find that you give them a great deal of did you give them a good choice on like I kind of refuse their cookies and kind of read through the thing here. So yes, the whole attention goes to the button accept all, but I find that for the people that really care about it, you really give them a good opportunity to refuse tracking if they don't want to. So I find it a little bit strange looking if you have 3 buttons all styled the same. But of course, you might want to do something else, and of course you can modify this whole thing yourself later on. But I'm gonna style it like this. So the button, the default button style will be kind of the ghost button. So I haven't done this in a while, styling a button. So that's nice. Let's go in. What did I call this? I call this a footer button. I like these long. So, oh yeah, it's in a footer. So let's put it underneath here. Clear cookie. And then let's do it like this. I'm just gonna steal my button style from here, because I have written a lot of styling here. What I'm doing here, yeah, transitions. I'm not gonna care about that right now. Is there something else that I want to do? No, it's kind of straightforward. Okay, let's just do background color. Let's make it transparent. Is that the thing? I think so. Border, 1 pixel. Let's make it solid, and let's do CCC. Yeah, let's give it a radius, border radius, 4 pixels. Let's do a padding. So I want a height greater than, I want big buttons, because it's just, the cookie banner is annoying for like 100% of people. Of course, nobody likes to have a cookie banner. So we need to make it easy to make a decision. Let's make them big. 20 pixel, 30 pixel. Let's see what this is quite big. Maybe a little bit too much. I also find the 18. So for the people that not familiar, padding, this is shorthand for padding top 18, padding right 25, padding bottom 18, padding left 25. So if you put in 2 values, this is top and bottom, this is left and right, and here I have put in 3 values, then it's top, left, right, bottom. You can also put in 4 values, then it's top, right, bottom, left. So I don't know if you need to know this really, but I'm gonna make these buttons. I'm gonna make these display block, or let's make them inline block. No, that's not what I want. I want them to be block level. That will make them under, yeah. So because as you can see, by default, these are inline elements, I believe. So that means that there's a small piece of, there's a couple of pixels in between, and I don't have control over the spacing. So I want to have that control, so I'm going to put a display block. So that will put everything just next to each other. I want them in order. So that in the top element, I'm just going to say display flex. And I think by default, oh, yeah, there you go. By default, it's just gonna put them side by side. But on small devices, you might want to tell it to, because like right here, it's not gonna wrap by default. So we need to do flex wrap. Wrap? I can't really remember what it is. I haven't done this. Yeah, there you go. So we need to come up with a good, for instance, we want to do the spacing right between these buttons. So let's say margin 0, let's do 15 pixels to the right. So this is 4 values, so it's top, right, bottom, left. Yeah, so we have spacing on the, like in between the items. But what if they wrap? Then it's still, it still has like, what do you call it? It still has, they are still next to each other. So I probably want to do something like this, so 15 pixels. But now every item has like 15 pixels at the top. So I want to compensate for that in the padding of the wrapper. So again, all the 3 buttons are in the footer, and the space at the top here is 30 pixels, and now I've added 15. So I'm going to compensate here. I'm going to say padding 15 to compensate for the margin that I put on the individual elements. So now it has, visually it has 30 pixels, which is 15 margin and 15 margin top. That is on all the individual buttons, and that will make sure that once it wraps, there's a little bit of distance. Yeah, there you go. It's all good. And there are, I'm gonna compensate to at the right as well, because I have 30 pixels at the right, but because it has 15 pixels of margin here, it's gonna wrap maybe a little bit too fast. So I'm gonna say padding 15 at the right, and at the left I wanted to keep 30. So at 30 it's not gonna wrap, and now it's gonna wrap. Yeah, there you go. I want, if you go over this with your mouse, you need to see like a little hand. We can do that very easily by going into here and saying cursor pointer. Yeah. And of course we want a hover style. So we're going to say something like this. Hover, border, color. Let's do black for now. We're going to style this later, but this is what we're doing. And we could even make a small transition. Okay, all right, let's do it. So transition, 0.2 seconds. I can't really remember how it's done. Like, do you say all here or? Yeah. So it's kind of smooth. It's kind of a smooth transition between the gray and the black. I don't know if you see it. Let's make it a little bit quicker. 0.15 seconds. Yeah. I like things to be fast and snappy. And there you go. And the accept all, we're gonna make that one a little bit more like a primary button. So let's do something like this. And what was the name that I gave this? Accept. Yeah, there you go. Let's say background color. Let's come up with a color scheme for this. This button is already nice. I have a color picker installed. It's called Color Slurp. It's a free Mac program, and I kind of like this button color, so let's go with that. Background color, let's put it in here. We can change these things later, but for now, let's go color white. And something that I like to, no, this is not good. White is 3 Fs, and border color. I believe there is a way to make this easier, because I don't like the fact that you need to come up with the border color and the background color, but if I set the border color to transparent, the accept button will be slightly slightly smaller, especially if you start adding larger borders here. So maybe we can do a fake border instead. So let's say we're going to use box shadow for that. Box shadow 0, 0, 1 pix solid. Let's see if this works. Oh, and we need to reset the border to 0 because it's a button element. No, it doesn't work yet. Box shadow. Yeah, there you go. This works. So, like, if you would have a border like this, with the box shadow, it just counts from the outer of the button and it goes inwards, while a border goes from the outer outwards. So that's why I'm picking the box shadow now. And the box shadow, you could use this for something like a shadow inside of your or I need to show it like this, a shadow inside of your button. And you could even make it inset. That's what I'm looking for. So this is like a very drastic shadow at the inset, but I don't want this. I just want a line at the inside of the button. So that's why I'm using box shadow here. I'm gonna do box shadow for the hover style as well. Let's make that black. And on the accept button, I can just say box shadow 0, I think. Oops. Or none. Yeah, there you go. So it doesn't have a border. And also on the hover, I'm gonna say box shadow none. There you go. So a hover style here. Let's do inside of my code editor, I can just click. It recognizes that this is a color. I can click here. Let's make it slightly darker. Let's see what happens. Yeah. So of course, no, I don't really like that color. So let's do it one more time. Maybe even just like this. Yeah. There you go. So this is how our cookie banner currently looks. What do you think? All right, we're gonna revisit the styling later, but I find this a good starting point for now. What I really like to do is later on maybe just spend an hour and a half just tinkering with just the details, the font sizes, things like that. But for now, I just want to keep it like this and want to start writing a piece of JavaScript that kind of helps with the behavior of the cookie banner. So let's go in to my code here, and underneath the style, I'm going to write a script tag. And within the script tag, I'm going to give this a name. So this is going to be var clear cookie. And by the way, I'm going to use the old version of JavaScript. And the reason is that I'm going to include this in Google Tag Manager. And there are a lot of restrictions that you can do in there are a lot of restrictions of what you can do within Google Tag Manager with JavaScript. You basically have to write so-called ES5 JavaScript. There are a couple of exceptions, but that's why I'm using var and not things like const or let. All right, with that out of the way, let's start here. I'm just gonna make this an object. Within that object, I have an init method. So that's a function. And I'm gonna say underneath clear cookie init. And that's where I'm gonna run that function. This is how I like to code my things. And at the end, of course, I'm just gonna copy this and put the whole thing in Google Tag Manager, maybe even compress it for faster loading times. But for now, we're just gonna write it here. And what I like to do here is I like to do something like this, console log, and let's just do a check icon. clear cookie loaded. So let's test if my script tag is working. So it has a strange thing here. That means that I probably need to set a, let me try to fix that real quick. So at the start of your page, there should be a meta tag char set, and that I don't have that. Also, I need this viewport tag in order to test on mobile devices. This is not needed for the cookie banner, but I just need this on my testing page to have to make it all work. So I forgot to make that at the start. So yeah, there you go. This is what I mean. So emojis are now supported. All right, clear cookie loaded. This is something else. Let me just disable that for now. Clear cookie loaded. So yeah, there you go. First of all, the thing that I want to do here is I want this to be hidden by default. So because if somebody loads the whole thing and then already has accepted, you don't want it to flash on the screen. So I might even do something like this. So style, display, none. So to make sure that the cookie banner is hidden by default, because the only scenario where you want the cookie banner to be visible is whenever somebody is on your site for the first time and hasn't given consent yet. And all the other scenarios you want to this is kind of a way to force hide the whole thing. That will make sure that the cookie banner is gone now. And at the start, we're going to do something like this. So if consent has not been given, then so if consent has not been given, then show cookie banner. So how can we do that? Well, we need to grab our cookie banner first. So let's do this. So var is document query selector. Let's do clear cookie. So this is our banner. And if the banner is not null, so if the element for some reason is not on the page, this is going to return null, and I'm kind of used to always checking that first. So if it's not null, and if consent is, let's say true. So here we're going to replace this later with consent is given. And then we need to do something like the banner, style, display, and then flex. I think I wanted this to have display flex. Let's look at my styling. Yeah, there you go. So yeah. So first we're kind of hiding it, and of course if consent has been given, then this piece, we're gonna write that, but this piece will be false. So we might need a function here that says so we need to do a couple of things here, because if somebody accepts their cookies, so let's bring the banner up here. If somebody accepts the cookies, we want to store that in a cookie. And if somebody then goes to the next page, we want to read from that cookie if consent already has been given. So to do that, we need to be able to read and write from a cookie. And I use some helper functions with that. So read cookie quirks mode. These are the cookie scripts that I have always used so far. So there are three functions here: create cookie, read cookie, erase cookie. I don't think we need the last one, but it's just 2 lines. But so let's include it here. So create cookie. We need to do the formatting a little bit different. Create cookie, semicolon, function. And I like to write it like this. Then comma, read cookie, comma, erase cookie, function. Yeah, there you go. So, and why am I using cookies? Because there are other technologies as well. Well, cookies are readable by a server as well. So if I would put the consent in a local storage is not readable by a web server, as far as I know. And that will make it difficult for the web developer to be able to use the consent. So if you have your web developer and you want them to show or make changes on the site depending on the consent that has been given, a cookie is the best way. And cookies are easily readable from Google Tag Manager as well. So that's why I like to do this in a cookie. All right, let's go on. We need a function that says, all right, once I click the accept all, I want it. So let's do that first. Let's do the accept all and refuse all first. So I'm going to make a function here, or a method, that's called store consent settings function. And that's basically just going to write the this going to create a cookie. So create cookie, and that I need to come up with a cookie name. So let's come up with a couple of settings, because I like to be able to change the cookie name. Don't know if that's a good idea for now, but for now let's just keep it in here. Cookie name, and then let's give this GTM, or let's do clear cookie. Yeah, there you go, clear cookie. Create cookie, and then it's just gonna pull the name in, which is clear cookie. The next one is the value. So this is we need to make a consent for consent equals, and we're gonna do a couple of things here. We need to put that into JSON. So consent is JSON stringify consent, and we're going to put that in our cookie. And the expiration, I believe that if I leave it blank, it's just gonna set it to a session cookie, so I don't want that. I need to make the expiration in days. So let's make this a setting. So settings, expiration, in days. Let's do a year by default. So create cookie. It's gonna, and what do we need in our consent? Well, we need the categories that have been accepted. So so for instance, the way Cookiebot does this is you would have a list, so categories, and then for instance, marketing, true, functional, true, marketing, true, analytics, true. Of course, we're gonna change this later, but for now let's do it like this. I also want to set a version. So for instance, if you have a banner, if you upload your banner now and you have a version 1, but you want to change things and you feel like you need to ask for consent again, and the expiration, of course, it hasn't passed yet. That you can just bump the version name, and that will force the banner to ask for permission or for consent again. So let's do that. How are we going to call this? So it's gonna consent version. I might change this later, consent version, but I'm gonna keep this at 1 right now. And I want to store that here. So consent version is this consent version. And I like to make a consent ID as well. So consent ID, so some kind of identifier for that moment. I'm gonna pull in a function that will generate a random string. So yeah, we're gonna make a new function here that says get consent ID, that will generate a random consent ID here based on the timestamp. So timestamp is date now, var random equals and I'm just pulling in a something. All right, here let's make it a little bit longer, and let's just return this, the timestamp plus a dash in between, and then plus the random string. So get consent ID, this get consent ID. This is all written in the cookie as soon as you start clicking the accept all button. Yeah. So on the init function, this is where, of course, we want to show cookie banner, but also where we want to do some basic things. So for instance, if you click here, accept all, so event listeners, this is called. So is it, so we have 3 buttons. So this is the name of the button. So I'm gonna say var buttons is document query selector. I'm gonna say all, because I want this to happen on all buttons. So, and then for var I is 0, I buttons length I plus plus. So basically I'm just looping over a list of buttons, because I know that this is going to return 3 buttons. So we're going to loop over every button, and I'm going to say buttons I, which just returns number 1, number 3, number 4. And then I'm going to say add event listener, because on click I want to run a function I need to come up with a name. So this click handler bind this false. Why I'm doing this, I don't really know, but there is a last attribute to the event listener that you set to false by default. So to be honest, this will run a new function that we're going to write. Function console. Let's do this, hoi, or let's do it, hey. Let's see if this works. So I would expect as soon as I click this to have a word hey in there. Yeah, and does this work? Yeah, it's all working. So that is good. And let's test our function here that says store consent settings. So this store consent settings. accept all. Okay, I get an error. Create cookie is not defined. Oh, of course. This create cookie, because I'm referencing this one here. That's what I'm doing with the word this, and then within that there is a function create cookie. If you want to make this work, you need to make the function in here, and the function is not inside of here, it's outside here. So that's why I'm doing this and then create cookie. Okay, accept all. This should write a cookie. So let's go into application. Let's go under cookies. Let's see if I have a cookie. And I see something happening. So undefined. It's a cookie named undefined. So why is it undefined? Oh, I said this.clear cookie, and that's of course a strange mistake. It's cookie name. Cookie name. So let's remove this. Let's see what happens. Accept all. Not working. Application. Oh, here it is. Clear cookie. Do you need to refresh that? Oh, that's strange. I didn't know. Okay. So if you click it, you need to refresh here, and then it will refresh this window. This is not real time. Didn't know that. And here are the categories: functional, true, marketing, and then there's a consent version. Where's my consent ID? I thought I wrote that in here as well. So consent ID. Oh, of course. This consent ID is a function. Get consent ID. So refresh. Yeah, now my consent ID has a timestamp and a random number. And to make it look even more professional, let's just increase the random number even more. Accept all. There you go. So timestamp. And timestamp, by the way, is just a number that represents the moment that somebody gave consent, and it's not dependent on a time zone or anything like that. So it's like a really reliable way of finding out when did somebody give consent in milliseconds, and then just a random string. Because if there is somebody that has an exactly the same timestamp that also gave consent, we want this ID to be unique. So this is the a random number that makes sure that we have like a really unique number. All right. Categories: functional true, analytics true, marketing true, consent version 1, consent ID. All right, this is good. What is the next step? Well, of course, if you press accept all, everything should be set to true. But if you have, if you press refuse all, everything should be set to false. So that's why I'm gonna do. Let's see. I might do something like this. So store consent settings, and then just do the consent in an array or something. So you have an array of like 3 values here. And of course, we're going to make this a setting. So this could be 2, this could be 5. You could have, if you don't do marketing, you just remove this. If you have something else, you want to do personalization with a Z in, then we're going to personalize this later, or be able to, we're going to make this customizable later. But for now, let's go for these 3 because in our button, the button click handler, it's called click handler. Let's do button click handler. It's a little bit more specific. Button click handler, and then of course you have like every button. Like we have 3 buttons here. Let's see what we're gonna do here. So you have, this is an event listener. So we there is, we could do something like this, event, and then the event listener is going to give us a little bit information. So console log event, and if I click here, it's going to give me a pointer event, and I have a lot of information about that click. And the target gives me the button that was clicked. So in this case, I know this is the accept button. In this case, I know this is the show settings button. And in this case, I know that this is the refuse all button. Let's see how are we going to go about this. Let's go into the buttons. I'm not quite sure because I want to do maybe an if else or something like that. So if it's on the first button, then you can just give consent to everything. If it's on the last, you can deny everything. And in the middle, we need, of course, then we need to open up the settings first. So I'm kind of, so we could do on the class name, accept settings and then deny. Yeah, let's do that. So so button click handler, event, target, class name. So accept all. So this will just return the class name of the button that was clicked. So accept, settings, deny. And then I can check for the word accept here. So I'm gonna do this. If the class name of the button index of, so this kind of means contains a substring of accept, and if that is not -1, that is a little bit of strange syntax, but this is just a way to, if it returns -1, it's not going to return, or if this part returns -1, that means that the class name doesn't contain accept. But so if it doesn't contain -1, that means that accept is in here. So this is a way to check if accept is in the class name. I know that this is confusing, and there are more elegant ways of doing this in later versions of JavaScript, but because I'm using an old version of JavaScript because of Google Tag Manager, this is how I write it. And I can run this function, and let's just do true first, and I'm gonna do consent. I'm gonna simplify it first and later on build it out. And then so the deny button has deny in here. Let's do false. So, and I of course can remove the console log here. So what I expect here is to happen is once I click accept all. Yeah, so let's remove it to be clear, to be sure. Accept all, refresh, it's gonna give me categories true, true, true. Refuse all is gonna give me functional false, analytics false, marketing false. And now the next step would be show settings, but this is the first step, accept all, and then refuse all. And of course, after I set the cookie, so after I store consent settings, I can close the banner. So for now, I'm just gonna say close banner, and I'm gonna do the opposite what I did at the top. So basically just gonna say display none. No, Oh, of course, I need to do this, and I need to do this here to make it like a global thing. So, oh, why is it not working? Oh, of course, I need to update these as well. Yeah, accept all, and that removes the banner. Accept all. Okay, this works, refuse all, but now once I refresh the page, the banner pops open again. So I want to make a check here that says, what is their consent, yes or no? So I can probably use this function right here, read cookie, because that will return null if there's no name for that function. So I can just do this read cookie, and then I pull in the cookie name, and if that is not null, or if it is null, then we need to show the cookie banner. So right now I already have consent, so it's not going to show the cookie banner. But if I remove this, it's going to show the cookie banner. Wow. We have come already so far. I'm going to take a short break, and we're going to continue with the settings. All right, I'm back. Let's continue with our settings page. And again, we already built some of this. Let me just show you real quick. So we already made a settings section where you can give consent for specific categories, and now I want to build out the functionality that when you click show settings, that the settings are actually displayed on screen. But I also wanted to make it in such a way that you can determine by yourself, you can customize the groups that you have right here. So currently I'm showing essential or functional cookies, analytics, and marketing, but you might want to customize this in something else. So let's make this customizable first. And I'm going to do that at the top of the script. So here under settings, and I might clean up this script later, but for now I'm just going to build, and I'm going to make a value here that says categories. And these are the categories where you can kind of determine like what are the and these are the categories, the purposes. That was the word that I was looking for. These are the purposes that you are asking permission. So you kind of ask permission for the purpose of analytics, and underneath analytics you might have several analytics solutions, but you ask permission for that purpose, or you ask permission for the purpose of marketing or advertising cookies, and then underneath that you might have multiple ad platforms. So under categories, and I'm gonna put a couple of categories in by default. So let's make this an array. So the blocks means an array, and this could be 1, 2, 3. But I'm gonna, instead of numbers, I'm gonna put in an object here. So these are all different categories, and in these objects I have a name. So functional, and the name of the second object is analytics, and the name of the third one is marketing. So these, I'm gonna just put this in by default. Do I need to uppercase this? So yeah, let's do it like this. So name functional, and this is the name that you will see here. So here I write functional, and once I'm done building this, you will see the name here. Name analytics, name, marketing. So of course functional, you cannot disable that. So I want to set required to true for this. So I'm just making this up, the name required. What's the name for this? Or disabled? No, this is just a required category. So let's do it like this. Of course, analytics, you should be able to deny analytics in many countries. So required, I'm going to say false. False. Is this a good name? Let me think. Yeah, I think it's a good name. Okay. Functional required, and let's put in our description as well. So this is just a piece of text that you will see underneath here. And of course we're gonna write some text later. This is probably gonna be next week's video where I'm gonna make all the text. All right, so we have our settings here. Yeah, let's go ahead. First of all, we need to make some changes once somebody clicks show settings. So let's do that first. The show settings button has the word settings in it. So I can do something like this. I can do, if the button has class name with settings in it. I don't want to store consent settings because people haven't given consent, but I want to do some styling changes. So let me see this right here. So in our body we have a main and we have a setting. So the main just gives a little bit of context. Okay, we put cookies on the page for different purposes. You can make some like a general text, and you in that text you probably want to link to a privacy statement. We need to build a lot there as well. So I'm gonna write that down for the next video. Okay. So once somebody clicks show settings, I want to hide the main section and I want to show the settings section. So let's do that first. So hide main content, show settings. So the two steps, and I'm gonna use these class names for it. So I'm going to make two class names, the main and the settings. So this is the class name for the main, this is the class name for the settings, and I have a modifier that says hidden. So where am I? Yeah, hide main content. So var main content is document query selector. The main content has this class name, and on that element I want to add a class name. I don't know if I can do this. Let's look this up. So clear cookie, add hide, or what was the name again? Hidden or hide? Hidden. Yeah, hidden. I don't know what I did here. Maybe I forgot a comma. Yeah, there you go. So show settings, and it's gonna remove the, yeah, good. So the first part is working, hide main content, and then the, oh, show settings, main content. Are some of you still watching this after, what are we, more than an hour? If you're watching this, I don't know who you are, but good for you. I don't know who likes this video. I'm currently building out this cookie banner, and I'm thinking maybe this is not so good content after all. But if you're still watching this, you're much respect for you. All right, let's continue. Please leave a comment down below if you're still watching this after 1 hour. I'm curious if anyone is still watching this right now. But let's just continue, because I'm looking forward to just putting the cookie banner out for everyone. So let's just continue building. Main content. So I'm gonna hide the main content. I'm gonna show the settings, and of course the settings has this class name. So main content class list, I'm gonna remove. And I want to see if I can even use this class name. So I'm gonna just look that up real quick. Class list. And then there's a website that's called Can I Use Class List. And that's hopefully gonna tell me if this is ES5, yes or no. So class list can add JavaScript ES5. So maybe here. Because I'm not sure if I can use this. So I need to, because once I start to add this code in via Google Tag Manager, I don't want it to break on these kinds of things, or it might do. I might have missed something already, but I want to prevent this as much as I can. Maybe just go off screen, ask ChatGPT, is class list add ES5, yes or no? So no, it's not part of ES5. So I need to come up with a different way of doing this. Maybe after all, this is not such a good idea to do this with a class name then. Okay, I might change this later, but just for the sake of making this video a little bit more like keeping up the pace a little bit, let's just remove this, and I'm not gonna work with class lists anymore, or class names for the hide part. So let's go back into the cookie banner, and where am I hidden? Yeah, there you go. Instead, I'm just gonna say display none, and this might be an accessibility issue, but to be honest, I don't know if accessibility is really important for the cookie banner, because I'm thinking this might not run anyway on a cookie, on like a if JavaScript is not enabled, this is not going to run anyway. So first of all, I don't need to think about progressive enhancement. Secondly, if somebody doesn't see the cookie banner and is not included in tracking, is there really a problem? So if I find that accessibility for some reason is an issue later on, I might change this, but for now I'm just going to continue. So style, display, none. So the settings are hidden by default. And in my script, once somebody clicks that button again, so the show settings button, I'm gonna hide the main content and then show the settings. So main content, I'm gonna do style, display, and then block. oops. And the other way around with the settings. So settings, hidden. There you go. Show settings. No, it's not going to work. Settings dash. I'm doing something wrong. So I'm going to hide the main content. So this should be set to none. And this should be set to block. I'm getting tired, I think. Show settings. Yeah, this is what I want. So once you open up the cookie banner, you see a general piece of content right here. And if you press show settings, you see a list of all the categories. And there are two things that I want to do here. I want, or maybe three. First of all, I want the settings here to reflect what you define here in the settings at the top of the script. So I have a piece here that says categories, and I want you to be able to customize this. So let's say you want to remove this. Well, then if you refresh this, the category marketing should be gone. So that's one thing that I want to do here. Also, once you press show settings, this button needs to go because you've already shown the settings. And you need to have a button that says I want to save the settings, and that's basically gonna save the settings that you have checked. And of course, I want the handling to go. So once you click save, we need to handle that the checked categories are actually written to the cookie. Okay, let's do, what are we gonna do first? Well, we're going to pull in the information from the settings here. So let's do that. We're going to do that from the init function because we're just going to do that. Let me see. We're going to do that. I have 40 minutes left. Yeah, we can. I think we can pull it off. So from the init function, I'm going to go in and I'm going to say write a build settings list. So that's what we're going to do. We might put it in a different function here. So this build settings list semicolon, and well, maybe here this is a good place to put this function. So function build settings list, and the settings are, or the categories are, this is my source for the settings list. So the markup here at the top of the page, let me see. So I'm gonna remove all the settings in this list except for one. And this is going to serve as my template. And I want to do one thing, and the wrapper, I'm going to make this a label instead of a div. And the reason is that a div is not clickable. So I can click here and it's not going to do anything with the tick box. Well, if I make this a label, so show settings, and I click this, I can click the whole thing and it's gonna tick this box. It's just, I like that a little bit more. So that's one thing that I want to change here. Let me see, is there an easy way or an elegant way of doing this? Probably not. So I'm just gonna copy this whole thing and I'm gonna go into my build settings list, and I'm gonna just do it the primitive way, and if there's a better way I can optimize, always optimize later, but for now I want the var settings HTML equals, and it's just gonna be a long piece of HTML code. This is not gonna work, I know that, but I can solve that in a couple of different ways. I believe I can do something like this. No, I need to do double quotes probably. And then let me look this up real quick. So multi-line. So again, in the modern versions of HTML, we can do like a backtick, and then you can just do multi-line HTML. But for now, we need to do a I think something like this. So, and of course, inside of our HTML, we have double quotes. So we need to do, yeah, this is how we need to change our HTML so it fits inside of a JavaScript string. I wish there was a different way, but I don't think that there is right now. So let's just, you can forward the video if you want. Probably not going to edit the whole video. It's going to be quite expensive. So and of course we're going to parse the name here. So but well, let's do that later. So here's another class name. I'm going to put that in single quotes. Again, backslash. I think we're here. So the settings, we have the settings for settings element or wrapper. We're gonna get that document query selector, and the settings wrapper is called clear cookie body settings. So show settings. No, it doesn't show anything at the moment, and that's correct because we have the settings wrapper, and then inside here we're just gonna say settings HTML, and that will give me one of these settings. Yeah, essential. Well, this is basically what we're gonna do, but then we're gonna do this for all the categories. So we're going to pull in the categories now. I'm going to say loop over categories. So it's going to be a for loop. Var I equals 0. Am I still recording? Let me check. Yeah, I'm still recording. Var I equals 0. I is less than, and then we're going to loop over our categories. And it is just a setting in the main object, so we can pull that in via I is this dot categories, and then for every pass we're going to say I plus plus, and this is going to be a loop, and every category has equals. So we can pull it in like this. We have a settings HTML var that we're just gonna initialize at the top. It's just an empty piece of text, empty string. And we're gonna say settings HTML plus is. So it's gonna add this text to the existing HTML code. And on every pass we could do a couple of things. For of course we need to do the title, the name, the checkbox. We can set that to disabled and checked. That's needed for the first category, for the functional cookies, because you cannot disable that. And then the description and perhaps a class name. So I'm thinking something like this. So class and a setting and then dash dash dash, and then we could do something like this. So it's just we're stitching together the pieces of text. So this is just text, and then I'm gonna put in the category name here, and I'm gonna do the same thing here. And here I'm going to put in the category description. And in this place we're going to probably need an if else statement. So we might be better off just doing settings HTML, do the same thing, plus equals, and then just start up here and then close it off here, and then do something like if category required so if it's required, then settings HTML else and settings HTML checkbox. And of course, if it's required, this needs to be checked, and it needs to be checked and disabled. Okay, let's see what happens. This is always... No, it doesn't work. Let's check the console. Cannot read properties of undefined. Reading name, build settings list. Oh, of course, we need to put this inside of our for loop. Let's see if this solves it. So show settings. No, it's not showing. Let's see. Okay, what I usually do is just console log category. I get one error. Yeah, okay. This, I want this to hide this. Okay, I don't get this. Do I get... Yeah, this function. So this is doesn't loop for some reason. This categories. What's the name? Categories. This categories. It should be there. It should be an array with. So let's do this. Yeah, it's an array. For I equals 0, I great. Oh, length, of course. Sometimes mistakes are... Yeah, there you go. So we have a functional group, analytics, marketing, and people can just click enable, disable every group, but not this one. This is checked by default. And then let me see. Yeah, if you change something, so if you, for instance, remove the marketing group here and click show settings, that group is gone now. So this is good. Save. Yeah, there you go. We're back. So show settings, and okay, we can do two things here. For the next part, once you have pressed show settings, we can leave the accept all here and make this a save settings, or we can change this into hide settings and change this into save settings. I find that once you click show settings, that this button should be about saving and not about accepting all. I think that is because if you press show settings, you probably want to customize anyway. Yeah, so let's do that. So we're gonna make a save settings button. And show settings. Am I going to change the text on an existing button, or am I going to make a new button? Now I'm going to keep it just super simple. So I'm going to make a new button. I'm going to say hide settings. And of course, these two buttons, style, display, none. These two buttons are there. We're going to hide these by default. So there you go, show settings. So once you click this open, we need to do two more things here. We want a button that says save settings and hide settings, because you want to be able to go back to the main copy if people want that. Okay, let's do that. So we're in our click handler, button click handler. This is the settings button. So we do need to do a couple of things here. We want to hide the accept all button. We want to show save settings, accept all, and show settings buttons. And we're gonna show the save settings and hide settings buttons. So a couple of things here. Can we reference them already? No. And I might need to do this globally. For now, let's do it just simple way. The query selector. And then we have the accept all button. We're going to hide this. Style display equals none. Yeah, there you go. I can make this wider. We have space. Some reason my screen is different than I'm used to. Can fix that later, but let's do it like this. Yep, there you go. And so here you go. So so we have two buttons to hide: the accept all button, and of course we don't want to hide every button, but just the accept button here, and the show settings. And we want to show two other buttons. So we want to show the save button, and we want to show the hide. So does this work? Show settings. It did hide. Oh, of course, I need to say set display block. Show settings. Yeah, save settings, hide settings, refusal. Okay, this is good. Save settings, we're going to style that like as a primary button here. So I'm going to do clear cookie. Save, and we're also going to give this the same hover style, like this. So show settings, then this is save settings, this is hide settings. These two buttons don't work yet. We need to make a function on save settings that reads the consent from this and writes it in the cookie, and the hide settings we see. Yeah, that also doesn't work. Let's do the hide settings first. That's easy. go for the easy one first. So we're still in our button click handler. So on every button click, we need to first check what button are we in. So, and we do that by reading class name, and if it's, I think I forgot the name, but yeah, hide, the word hide. If the word hide is in here, we basically just want to do the reverse of what we did in the in here. So the setting. So we want to show the main content and hide the settings. So this should be easy. Show main content by doing this. Block, hide, settings. Settings by doing none. And of course we also want to revert the buttons back. This takes up a little bit too much code, so I'm gonna try to optimize this later. But for now, we can continue. And let's even modify the comments, hide. And let's see if this works. So show settings, hide settings. Show settings, hide settings. Show settings, hide settings. Yeah, it works. So now the save settings. And that is the final one in our click listener. So we can do this. We probably should make this an if else or else if. So else if, or maybe a case switch. But for now, we are gonna do it like this. If it's a save, this is what we want to do. So save settings. Oh, this is of course not what we wanted to do. Let me remove the cookie. So I get the banner out. Show settings, and on save settings, nothing is currently happening, but I want to save the settings that are in here. So that means a couple of things. Are we gonna do this in a separate function? This is getting a little bit large. For now, I'm gonna just write it here. So we are gonna pull in all the settings here. So every setting, I just want to pull it in. So var settings equals document query selector all. I'm gonna just pull in all the settings, and then we're gonna loop over. Or is this not a good way? Let's see what's going on here. So we have settings functional. Yeah, we have a class name here. No, I'm gonna do it differently. We're gonna loop over the settings that we have set in our at the top. So this categories length. We're just gonna loop over the categories again. I++. And the setting has, and then I'm going to pull in the setting based on this. So this way, if for some reason somebody wants to change the HTML, it's not going to work. It's going to work. This is leading, and then we're going to pull in the setting that we have chosen. So var category equals this categories I, and I can do this plus name. Can I use uppercase in class names? I usually don't do that. Probably I probably can. Console log setting. Does this return the setting that I'm looking for? So I should press this. Yeah. button click handler. Okay, it gives me, oh, of course I shouldn't be pressing the wrong button again. So show settings and then save settings. That gives me an error. Cannot read properties of undefined name. So when are you, oh, of course I should do this. I'm always making silly mistakes here, but this is good. So we have we're pulling in the settings, and I just want to read. Like the moment somebody presses save settings, I just want to read if this is set to checked, yes or no. So and we probably have to modify this as well, but that doesn't matter. So at the end, we're going to do store consent settings, or this store consent settings, and then it should basically just give us this. So we might as well just do consent equals consent. And then instead of true or false here, we're just going to pull in a list. Yeah, I think that is good. Okay, so or maybe even comma separated. That's even easier. So instead, let's do. Yeah, let's keep it easy. So consent is just an empty variable, an empty string, an empty piece of text. And then for every category, I'm going to set the name to true or false in that string. So console log setting, yeah, we already verified that we're on the right setting. But inside here, there is a checkbox. So I want the checkbox. I want to know the checkbox. So query selector input type checkbox. And let's see what this gives me. So show settings, save settings, and it's currently, it's already saving, of course. I don't want that. Let's keep that for later. Because so show settings, and then save settings. This is going to give me the and for a checkbox, I never can remember how I can get the value. So let's see if this is can I do this checked. No. No, this is not the, can I do a value on this? No. Okay, I need to Google it. Checkbox JavaScript get state. Is checked. Is checked. No, checked. It's giving me, I thought I tried this already. No. No. Okay, that's not working. Let's go back. Get state of checkbox. It should be true or false somehow. But I still have the checkbox in here, right? Yeah, I get the checkbox. Save. How can I get the document get element by ID checked is true. Oh, of course. I need to run this on the actual show settings, and then I can enable this. Yeah, it's gonna be true, false. That's good. Okay, so now we have this var consent given. We can pull that in from the checkbox. Now we can do something like this. So consent plus equals, and I'm just going to pull in the name of the category plus a semicolon, and then the consent given, true, false. And then if the I is greater than 0, we also want a comma. And we probably want to have the comma at the start. So the first round, no comma, and after a while, if I is 1, we have a comma. So let's see if this is working. Show settings, save settings, analytics. Probably need to do something like this. So console log consent. Let's see what this does. Show settings, analytics is true, functional is true, functional analytics marketing. This is good. For some reason I don't like the way that this looks. So this has this is not lowercase. Let's just make this lowercase. How can it do that? Lowercase JavaScript, 2 lowercase, of course. Category name, 2 lowercase. 2 lowercase, and I'm going to do that in the other places as well. So now, oh, I broke it. Okay, let's do it only in the cookie for now. Show settings, analytics, save settings. 2 lowercase is not a function. What? Or I might do this. 2 lowercase, just do the whole thing. Show settings, save settings, consent. I know what I did wrong. Silly mistake. Save settings. Yeah, there you go. It's all lowercase, just like I wanted to. Okay, so this is fine. So I'm just going to return the consent here. Consent, and this is probably not going to work. Consent. So gonna rename this to cookie content. Cookie content. Cookie content, cookie content, cookie content, and then the consent. Yeah. Show settings, analytics, marketing, save settings. This is gonna write a cookie. Application. It's gonna write a cookie with all the. Oh, I lost the 2 lowercase. to lowercase. So this is going to write, now it save settings. Yeah, now functional, analytics, marketing, etc. Good. There's one thing that now doesn't work anymore, and that is the handling of accept all and refuse all, because on the let me see here, I do store consent settings true, store consent settings false, and this should be the result. So I want a piece of text that contains functional true, analytics true, marketing true in one go. So how can we do that? Well, let's just see. Is there an efficient way of doing that? Probably needs to, let me see. Accept all show settings button. So my main content. Yeah, this save. So for now, I'm gonna duplicate this piece of code. So I'm gonna say var consent equals empty text string. And I'm gonna do this consent, and but instead of checking from the page, I'm just gonna return true in the case of accept. So I don't need to check this, I don't need to check this, and same goes for denying cookies. I just need to loop over all the categories from my settings, and I'm going to set all the settings to false. I don't need to look on the page for this. So let's see if this works. So accept all gives a cookie with functional true, analytics true, marketing true. Deny gives a cookie with functional false, analytics false, marketing false. This is not good because I do need to set the functional to true. So if category required, let's just do this. Category required, or false. All right, quick recap. What have we done so far? Well, we started out the video by just writing out some basic HTML code. And of course, the text in here still needs to be written. So we're going to do that afterwards. This is just placeholder text. After that, we made a simple design. We wrote some style CSS code to come up with the colors, the text, the fonts, etc. And of course, we're going to refine that later. And we made a simple script that handles if somebody accepts, shows the settings, or refuse all. And under show settings, we made it such a way that if somebody presses save settings, that the categories are written to a cookie. Of course, there's a lot more work to be done. I want to refine the style first of all, I want to refine the style of the banner. I want to make it a little bit more just pretty overall. Might do something with a logo at the top. I'm not quite sure. I'm gonna take a little bit of time for that, as well as I want to make it responsive. So I'm gonna double check if everything works on a mobile device, and I want people to be able to click to a privacy statement here. So once people click there, I want people to be able to read first without the need for giving consent. So we're gonna write an exception for the privacy page, and on that page you need to be able to change your preferences as well. So we're gonna do a couple of things for the privacy page as well, so people can adjust their privacy settings later on. I'm gonna take a while to just think about how I can improve this cookie banner. And again, once this whole project is done, I'm gonna put a link in the video description where you can just download this whole thing for free. All right, that's it for today. This is a different video from my other videos, and I don't know if any of you are still watching at this point because it has been a very long video. But if you are still watching, I want to thank you for that. I hope you learned something from it. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.